A simple but crucial fact about our industry today is that it's no longer as hardware-centric as it used to be. As a result, smart salespeople are revising their approach and honing their skills at selling services along with hardware and software. In this module, you're going to learn how to easily and elegantly incorporate the selling of services into your sales repertoire. If this isn't something that you're doing today, you'll find that getting there is easier than you think. I want to begin by telling you a story. I used to have a colleague who was an engineer. He was the frontline customer support resource for the company I worked for at the time, which meant that he spent a lot of time on the phone walking customers through a series of diagnostic questions in order to determine if their equipment was in fact defective. Mitch was an older guy who smoked too many cigarettes, so he had a gruff voice, and his first question to every customer who called was always the same: "Is it plugged in yet?" You know, it was astonishing to me how many times he hit the nail on the head with just that simple question. Well, in my work with resellers and salespeople who want to sell more high-margin services, my first question is always the same: do you try to sell services every single time? Now, you won't be surprised if I tell you that the answer I invariably get is no. In fact, the most significant thing that you can do to increase the amount of services that you're selling is to increase the number of presentations you make on your company's service offerings. You know, it's really as simple as that. An unfortunate truth, though, is that many salespeople shy away from selling services. For one thing, selling services generates lower gross revenues. Salespeople who are used to focusing on their top-line sales figures sometimes find it difficult to refocus on services. The right mindset for today's environment is to not think in terms of hardware or software or services at all, but rather to think in terms of crafting complete solutions for your customers. If hardware is a significant component of that solution, that's fine. But you can capture a small or medium-sized business customer without ever needing to get into a hardware discussion. In fact, the net result of focusing on solutions rather than hardware sales or gross sales dollars is that your universe of prospective customers is now opened up to include businesses who've already bought their hardware from someone else. Also, I think that at some level, some salespeople feel as though they'd be jeopardizing their hardware sales if they offer services at the same time. You know, it's as though they're afraid that a customer, when presented with a proposal for services, will turn around and say, "Let's forget the whole thing." In reality, though, just the opposite is more likely to be true. If your willingness to present your company's services does anything at all, it enhances the value of the hardware you just sold. It makes tangible everything that you probably just said about your company's ability to support your small and medium-sized business customers. Let me make a couple of other points here. One is that you need to make yourself as familiar with your company's service offerings as you are with its hardware and software. If you try to make a general sales presentation about services, but then need to defer your customers' questions about pricing or terms and conditions to someone in the service department, your customer is going to conclude that the whole subject just isn't very important to you. The other thing I want you to think about is this. Many resellers offer a range of services. Some of these services, like training, are pretty straightforward. Others, though, are a little more complex. When you're talking to your small and medium-sized business clients about services like that, you're going to want to pay particular attention to the clarity of your presentation. Take the time to review your presentation materials and proposals with someone who can provide a clarity check for you. Keep in mind the principle we discussed in the module about selling high-tech products to low-tech customers. If a client doesn't understand what you're talking about, they won't want to seem stupid, so they won't ask you to explain it. They'll just say no. Don't let yourself lose service business because your presentation isn't as clear as it needs to be. By the way, if you're looking for some great ideas on how to seamlessly incorporate service sales into your standard selling process, you'll find that HP's Profit Engine has some terrific resources. Do yourself a favor and check them out. And remember, the selling of services, like so much else about sales, is at its heart a numbers game. If you make more presentations, you'll sell more services. I guarantee that your results will improve when you talk to your customers about your service offerings every single time.